You got gourmet kicks online now that sells some of your collection,
Well,
but you also sell your customs,
what I've,
right?
as you guys mentioned before, the DeCreaseR, that's like my new project that I've actually taken down the e-commerce link. So what people have to do in order to buy stuff from me now is basically just contact the chef. You gotta get at me and really try to get me to go to work for you, because I got a lot of shit on my plate, no pun intended.
Speaking of the decreaser, though, I know just like everybody else that wears Air Force Ones, white Air Force Ones is like uniform where I come from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the past 15 years, you know what I mean, white Air Force Ones. So I understand that after a couple wears, that's it. You know what I mean? You never get that crispy feeling again.
Yeah,
That
man.
fresh out the box feeling is gone. It's like a white T-shirt. You wash it once and you keep it moving.
Yeah.
So
You know
when
what's
did you
funny is,
decide to do something about that? Like, did you really?
well, the minute I started rocking my kicks, I think the first pair of Air Forces that I really grew attached to were my JD Skyline. The first day I wore them, I looked down, and I was hurt because I just see this full grain leather just starting to crease up, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So immediately I started, trying to figure out a way to, either slow the creasing or stop it. And I'm reading online all these, you got to stick bags in there, or you got to stick the cushion in there, or you got to take the insole and cut it in half and put it over your toes. It's like all these principles to me just didn't make sense because it wasn't working with the shoe the way that the shoe was.
Have you ever heard, Frank? Have you ever heard that?
I've never
Cutting
heard.
insole in half?
No, I've never heard that.
I've seen dudes put their socks halfway on and then fold the other one up on top.
Right.
I've done that.
Right.
I've done
Yeah.
that.
But you see, it's like it's all trying to solve the same issue, because obviously the creasing comes from the extra space that's left in your shoe. But the toss-up is that if you try to fill up that space, your fucking feet are going to be uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah.
So, I tried to look at it. I'm a real analytical dude. I come from a background in science and mathematics, and I was always a nerd in school and whatnot. So I kind of looked at it from a mechanical standpoint. And over time, I got to really trying to break down the way that the foot bends inside of the shoe. Why does the shoe crease? What distances are shortened that cause this material to start creasing? And basically the general reason why the sneakers creases is because it's designed to. It's a disposable item. The toe box was created to be destroyed.
Right.
I remember reading an article that was a parody of that book, Behold the White Horse, and it said, Behold the White Air Force. And it talked about how it's a huge conspiracy and how Nike creates this very coveted, sought-after, high-priced sneaker that costs them, only a few dollars to make, that people have to buy again and again and again. And so after reading that, I got even more motivated to solve this issue. And what it really broke down to is, how do I make the shoe bend where I want it to bend and not bend where I don't want it to bend? So after thinking it over in that respect, then I started to play around with the little insert that I'd seen people stick in there, the cardboard shit.
Yeah.
And that works to a degree, but the reason why it works is because it stiffens up the front of the shoe. But then if you do that, then you're compromising your comfort, because then you got to walk different and all this other bull crap. So essentially, I boiled the issue down to the simplest, most common denominator, which is I need to transfer the way the sneaker changes shape. So I did so by creating this DeCreaseR, which is, in the most simplest terms, it's a bridge. It comes into contact with the inside of the sneaker at a few key points that anchor it, so that the leather then bends at the anchor points instead of all throughout the toe box.
Chef, let me ask you this.
What up?
If you got anchor points, how can you convince the people that are interested in this that they won't feel any discomfort? Like, what's going on there?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm giving away samples of it so people can actually give their feedback on the comfort.
Right.
So what I've done is I've actually worn a pair of Air Forces for 45 days, and I wore my right foot without the DeCreaseR and my left foot with the DeCreaseR. So my goal was to show the difference between the two sneakers and show that, number one, you can wear the shoe every day without discomfort, wear it for, all day basically, all day at work, all day walking around, 8-10 hours a day, whatever, however long.
He was actually wearing those at Magic when we saw him.
Right. And I took comparison pictures to show what the difference in the creasing is, or the lack of creasing therein in the shoe that doesn't have that has the DeCreaseR in it.
Yeah.
And essentially the one shoe that doesn't have it is completely destroyed. I mean, it looks like shit. I mean, it's wrinkled up all over the toe box, the sides, and everything. And I was actually impressed with the way the DeCreaseR performed, because I had never before worn it that long for that many times in a row in one pair of sneakers. I'd always taken it out and switched it up, or, installed it into the sneakers that I wanted to wear and only worn those sneakers a couple of times. So I was actually astounded because my final design actually used less material so that less of it would come into or risk coming into contact with my foot. I used less material, I wore it for longer, and the results were even more extreme because not only did the toe box not crease, but the entire frontal area of the sneaker did not crease.
Huh.
And it's simply